Hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life. That means if you step up to the plate and make some hard choices, hard decisions, that your life is going to go much more smoothly. And if you just focus on the easy choices and avoid those hard choices, you're going to have a hard life. So it's kind of a paradox. Greg Lavoie, when he was with us a couple of years ago, he mentioned the power of choice as in visualizing crossroads. Like you're standing there and you see a signpost, and on one side you see a word on the signpost, and then there's a signpost going the opposite direction. And he asks the room to imagine, and maybe do this for a second, just close your eyes and imagine if those two signposts are in front of you on these divergent paths right in front of you, going this way or that way, what might be written on the signposts for you? It may be money on the right versus creativity on the left. It may be practical on the right versus adventurous. It may be safe versus risky. It may be known versus unknown. Nelson Mandela said, may your choices reflect your hopes and not your fears. So maybe on the right side for you, this is your hopes, this is your aspirations, and these are your fears. But what path are you really walking down in a given moment? For me, those two signs are often ego versus spirit. Ego versus spirit, and I'll explain why. One way it keeps coming up. I got a call from Netflix a couple of weeks ago, and I love the brand Netflix. It's just, so exciting, and it's a big brand, and it was very enticing, and they wanted me to do a team building activity at their headquarters for 100 people. And instantaneously, I was so excited, but the more I began to think about it over the next few hours and the next days, the more I got stressed. And I was stressed just thinking about it. And my mentor said, what are you going to get out of it? What are you going to get out of it? And I thought to myself, well, I'll get a nice new shiny logo on my Global Drum Circle website, and I'll get something on my, curriculum vitae, my set of experiences. I'll be able to say, post on social media that, oh, I did this huge team building event for Netflix. Here I am, right? Those sound pretty ego related to me. And my competitor won't get Netflix. That sounds like ego to me. So I immediately knew I had to call Netflix and tell them, I can't do this. So I did. And I'm totally at peace with it. Totally at peace with it. Because this is what I want to be doing. This is my passion. Something similar happened, not with the drum circle, but with a job. I took a job at eHarmony years ago, and big salary. They flew me out every Sunday night, put me up in a really nice hotel in Pasadena, very swank, and flew me home on Thursday nights. And I thought, oh boy, I'm a hot shot. And I lasted 2 weeks. It was the most unharmonious place, and for me in that time, with my situation, it was horrible. It was just horrible. And I was at the airport at 6 a.m. with my roll-on luggage, and I was about to go down the ramp, and I stopped. I could not go down that ramp. So I called my spiritual advisor and I said, Anita, I'm here at the airport. She said, what, honey? No, I said, I can't do it. I can't get on that plane. I can't do it. So I sat down and I called them and I told them I resigned, and it was really nasty, but I realized I couldn't do it. No amount of ego, no amount of salary could be a payoff for the suffering that job was for me. And so my decision was, it ain't worth my peace. It is not worth my peace. I quit. So what kind of decisions have you made in your life that are like that, where you just knew, I always talk about, caring for my mom. That was a decision in the opposite direction. When my mom got sick, I just knew the next morning I was sleeping on the floor in the living room. I was going to be her full-time caregiver. I knew it viscerally, knew it. And everything around my life would work itself around that. So what kind of decision, positive or negative, has happened for you? And I noticed that, those ego choices, if you make the ego choices, the universe keeps on bringing them back to you saying, are you sure? Are you sure? And it's maybe not necessarily always an ego choice. Maybe it's a wrong decision that you make. And it keeps on coming back to you in other forms. Are you sure? Are you sure? So watch those patterns and know that even, and especially when you choose to not decide, when you put off the decision, there's a song by Rush, for those of you who know that band. It's called Free Will, and it's basically, the lyric is, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice, right? Okay, that's your earbug for today. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. That's true of voting. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Speaking of this, I remember I was in an unhappy relationship for 5 years, seeking to get out of it. And that same spiritual counselor said to me, well, David, there must be something that you're getting out of it. There must be something that's serving you, or else you wouldn't be in this relationship for 5 years. And gosh, I thought I was, oh, poor David. I was the victim. Poor David, look at me. I need to get out of this relationship. I'm suffering. But I was making the decision by not choosing to leave it. I was somehow deciding each day, deciding to stay in it. I still had made a choice. So a few months after she said that, it ended. That was all I needed to hear. So is there something you're choosing not to decide on? It doesn't have to be leaving something. It could just be something you're putting off. And there's another quote that I forget who comes from, but it says, what you allow is what will continue. What you allow is what will continue, right? When you see racism around you, when you see bias around you, when you see rudeness around you, what you allow will continue. So being passive is a choice. What are you allowing? That's a good litmus test as well. So in all of my thinking about choices this week, my theory is still, the more conscious decisions we make instead of unconscious, the faster we will grow. Because there are so many decisions that we make unconsciously. Like that decision that kept me from walking, it was more like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. I wasn't saying, well, I'm just going to put off walking. It was just, I was stuck in this mode where I was letting fear or stress make the decisions instead of my conscious highest self. So when your conscious highest self makes these decisions, any decisions, you are overriding. You may be overriding the reptilian brain in you. If you've heard of the amygdala, there's a little teeny spot in your brain that contains a lot of things from past conditioning. It contains things from the cave person days, the Neanderthal days, where we had to run from fear or else we would die. We had to run from the Tyrannosaurus Rex. We had to. So everything, the fight and flight mechanism is deeply ingrained in our reptilian brain. But the thing that we can do to override that is to make a spiritual conscious decision. Every time we make a spiritual conscious decision, we prevent that amygdala, like public speaking, perfect example. You're not going to die. I see Chris laughing. You're not going to die. The emotional, the amygdala is hijacking all the neurotransmitters in your body, filling you with adrenaline, saying, you better run or else you're going to die. Those things no longer serve us. So this is where we get to evolve. This is part of the conscious evolution that some people talk about, the conscious evolution that is a part of taking our power back and recognizing our spirituality. I'm going to tell another brief story, just one more about choices. And so you may know that I'm now in ministerial school, but I have not been assigned a mentor. And all along they said, you're going to get your mentor assigned to you. They didn't say how. They said it's probably going to be happening next week. And well, all of a sudden I get these different emails from possible mentors that they were like pitching themselves, like, hey, I think I'm going to make a good mentor for you. And the people who I wanted to kind of be my mentor, they didn't send me a pitch email, right? So, but I learned the process wasn't them assigning me a mentor. The process was there are people that are in the mentor field that offer themselves and offer their services, and I get to choose. And I talked to somebody who I very much resonated with, and she said to me, I asked her, what's this mentor relationship like? She said, you get to choose when you want to bring me in and when you don't. You get to choose when you take my advice or when you will go with your own plan. I'm a resource for you. And I said, well, do I have to fill out this 100-point bada 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 that they said? She said, only if you want to, only if that's your plan for me. You determine the schedule, you determine what classes you're going to take, you determine what internships you might take. You are in the driver's seat to fill your knowledge gaps. You determine how to do that. And she's just there to remove obstacles as a resource, give me advice. But it really put me in this place where, wow, a mentor isn't a teacher and a director and a manager. A mentor is a person that's just totally there for me. And I am in the driver's seat. And for a minute, it felt kind of scary, but then all of a sudden it felt good. How many times have you had that in life? You don't really typically have that at work, depending on what kind of job you have. So, but I was thinking, isn't that how it is with God? God is not a manager. God is not a director. God is not a teacher in the way a classroom teacher would be. The lessons are out there and you get to choose. The wisdom is out there and you get to choose because you're in the driver's seat. You get to choose which road you're going to go down. Okay. And there may be guidance and tools along the way, little signs saying, David, think about this decision, right? That's God. That's God. But you get to choose. We have free will. So a final thing I want to say about choices is don't look back at the choices. We all have choices we regret, right? Don't look back at the choices we regret. Speaking of Netflix, there was a series I was watching a couple of years ago called Colony. Anybody ever heard of it? Okay. Anybody ever watch it? Okay. And there's a quote in there that says, even the greatest of us makes 2 or 3 critical mistakes in our lives, but it's the choices that we make today that will determine our future. So even the greatest of us make 2 or 3 critical mistakes, but we cannot look back. And perhaps those mistakes were a gift for us, but we've got to look forward because today is what counts. It's the decisions from this spot on that count. And it always seems that if we choose wisely, doesn't it, that grace gives us a second chance to choose again? Always, always. I think, for some of you who have been married to your high school sweethearts, maybe there's an exception, but people in relationships say, oh, they had to go through a bad relationship to find a beautiful relationship, and what a gift the bad relationship was, right? Or they had to have a bad boss and a bad job, right? Bad friendship before they realized how to set boundaries. So what are those lessons that were things that you didn't want, thought you didn't need, but they were the gifts that pointed you to what was possible? That is grace in decision making. So that is what I want to say. I had so much more to say on choices. Maybe I'll save for a future talk, but let's go into a moment of prayer, just centering this message about our choice, thinking about what Michael Beckwith said about being in a choice point in every moment. I know I'm in a choice point today, right now, choosing to be here. Why did I choose to be here? Perhaps it's because you're empowering your highest self to grow in this human existence even more, to find and realize and be awake to the happiness that's happening. And that's your natural birthright, even more, that decision, choosing to be happy. So I say, you're in the driver's seat. And today I say, I choose love. I choose joy. I choose happiness in this moment. And I choose to trust in the God of my understanding, knowing that God is all in for me. So I'm going to be all in for God, knowing that I cannot fail. I can't fail. I'm not looking back. I'm not looking back. I'm looking straight ahead. And I'm looking forward to the fulfillment of blessings, grace, harmony, and everything good coming my way in this moment. It's so blessed. And so it is.
Just when I take a step outside, the rain, it catches me with no warning. Right before liftoff, what was once light and airy can't catch my breath, poor sweet canary.